this is Storian, and today is year 2 of Riseclan. If you're confused, check out my other video. Many of the characters are from that episode, and plenty will be explained there. Aside from that, not much happened this year, at least not as much as last year. But we do have quite a few new faces, and nobody died. So we'll be jumping straight into our living cats. Also, I decided a few cats would be drawn together, mainly with their apprentices. First up is Hailstar. He's now 57 moons old, and still has all of his 8 remaining lives. He currently has an apprentice named Kestrelpaw. This year, he and Bonecatcher actually adopted a litter of kittens, who have now each become apprentices. Sadly, neither of them are their mentors. Instead, Kestrelpaw showed up with her mother and brother as a kitten. She's currently 9 moons old, playful, and quick-witted. The thing is, Hailstar doesn't really like Kestrelpaw. Well, Kestrel absolutely adores him. There's something that makes Hailstar resent her. I will point out, Kestrelpaw and her brother look a lot like Hailstar, at least in-game. After drawing them, I tried to make them look a bit different. They're not his kits, as far as we're known. Perhaps I might change that. I haven't decided. Also, her leg is completely fine. I was trying to make her look like she was prancing, but I feel like it kind of makes her leg look twisted. Anyone else see that? I'm not going to lie, actually, they look so similar within game that I thought they were his kits, like the ones he had adopted, that just weirdly looked a lot like him, and I still kind of get them mixed up occasionally, thinking they're his. Also, I drew them before I drew their mother, so the family resemblance isn't really there much. Moving on to our deputy, Pumpkin Swipe. She's now 87 moons old, and at some point during the year, she believed she was a part of a prophecy. Whether or not that's true or not has not been determined. She was also given an apprentice this year, who just so happened to be Kestrelpaw's brother, Crowpaw. He's also 9 moons old. When he became an apprentice, he was super excited to start battle training. He's now ambitious and oddly insightful. At some point, as he trailed behind the patrol, the ground suddenly caved in beneath him. He made it out, but swears somebody pushed him. He ended up blaming another apprentice who was on patrol with them. She denied it, but Crowpaw still isn't so sure, and is currently injured. I tried to make it look like there was something tying his paw up, but I'm not too sure how it really worked out. Pumpkin Swipe may be compassionate, but when it comes to apprentices, she doesn't really have patience. And though she tries, they don't really see eye to eye very often. I find it strange that both of them have strained relationships with their mentors, but in reverse, with Crowpaw hating his mentor and Kestrelpaw's mentor hating her. I'm not sure if it really means anything. I'm fairly sure they're used to clan life by now, but it might just be preference. Next is Ghost Puddle. She's one of the few cats who doesn't have an apprentice this year, and that worries me. She's 125 moons old, which would normally mean she would have retired by now. I'm actually not sure if medicine cats can even retire. I believe they often die as medicine cats, though they often have longer lifespans than warriors. But if that is the case, we wouldn't have anyone to take over her spot. Along with that, this year a deep hatred for Burnclaw formed. I don't actually have any notes on why. I probably should have taken some. Next is actually Burnclaw, who's now 102 moons old and still has her forget-me-not flowers. Her apprentice was actually the one Crowpaw blamed for pushing him, Willowpaw. She was one of the kittens found by Bonecatcher and Hailstar. Most likely, I'll be referring to them as Hailstar's kits. She's currently 7 moons old, troublesome, and quick to make peace. She was super excited to become an apprentice, already thinking about feeding the clan. She then started having strange nightmares about two-leg traps, but so far nothing's come of it. It might have something to do with the incident with Crowpaw, but again, there's no evidence supporting that. Also, a bit about the design for the cats. I'm fairly sure I changed Burnclaw's scar. I wanted it to be visible, but with how I drew it last time, that wouldn't be possible. Also, Willowpaw is really pretty, but really hard to draw. Also, I'm not going to lie, I was tempted to make her purple, mainly because she does appear more purple than brown within game, and I still kind of did that, but it's definitely more brown than she is in game. Next episode, I might change that. So if next episode she looks more purple than she does in this one, don't question it, that's just me trying to figure out how I want to draw her. It might switch back and forth, haven't decided. If I like it, it most likely will stay one color. Next up is Bleakpath and her apprentice. These two are absolutely adorable to me. Bleakpath is 98 moons old and still somewhat childish, unlike her apprentice, Patchpaw, who's insecure and quick to make peace. She seems very nervous while being named an apprentice, and Bleakpath noticed this and started encouraging her from that point on. That's why I think they're so cute together. They gave the most outgoing and goofy cat in the clan one of the most reserved and quiet to teach. I'm sure Hailstar believes that they could both learn something from each other, and I think that's cute. I'll probably mention this again in future videos, but I like to think Bleakpath takes kind of like a sisterly role in Patchpaw's life, not so much with the other apprentices, but specifically her, with it kind of being like she adopted her as her introvert. Don't get me wrong, I've seen people portray that as a bad thing. I mean it entirely in a good thing. I think when done correctly, I think it can be adorable. It's more of in the sense of she's fine with her being quiet and reserved, but would also love to see her bold and outgoing side. Next is Dayshade, Kestrelpaw and Crowpaw's mother. She's 34 moons old, lonesome, and a good swimmer. She doesn't really like the clan per se, not outright hating anyone, but she does think it's just a little bit too much for her, mainly with all the socializing and the rules, but she knows her kids would have a good future there, so she sought one out, specifically one that would help her. But before she could, she gave birth, only to be found by Ghost Puddle, who brought her safely back to camp. She was also given an apprentice, who's actually just so happens to be Hailstar's eldest kit, Carppaw. She's righteous and confident with words. I'm fairly sure she was the first to realize the pressure, I guess, of being the leader's kit, even if it's not by blood. By status, she believes she's supposed to hold herself higher. Not to say she's arrogant or tries to push anyone down, no. It's just she puts more pressure on herself. I also think Dayshade was kind of hoping to get one of her kits as an apprentice, but wasn't disappointed to get Carp Paw. It did take her a little while to fully warm up to the kit, but they've grown a mutual understanding that you could call friendship. Also, like so many other cats, I love Dayshade's design, but it was so difficult to draw. I really hope if she has kits, actually I don't know whether I hope they do look like her or they don't look like her. Next is Bonecatcher. He's now 31 moons old and currently sick with white cough. He also doesn't have an apprentice. I think he might feel a bit upset about that because 4 of them are literally his children, or I guess not literally. They're his children by his standards. So I think he might have thought he was going to mentor them. Not to say he disapproves of Hailstar's choices, but he kind of was just hopeful. And sadly, we don't have time for another music break, because next is Ziggy. She's 27 moons old, thoughtful, connected to StarClan, and has steady paws. One day, she was with her 2 legs. Everything suddenly went black. Next thing she knew, she woke up in the middle of the territory. Confused and having no way back home, she was welcomed into the clan. I like to believe her and Ghost Puddle would be friends, but they don't actually have a relationship status currently. More of, I think they would be bonded over their connection to StarClan, one through being a medicine cat and one through just circumstance. Ziggy was also given an apprentice this year, the last of the apprentices actually, though she's not the youngest, Amberpaw. She's Hailstar's kitten, but her biological father is named Tree. He passed away before the clan found him. And when she became an apprentice, after hearing, well, kind of made up stories about her father, but in the sense of they were trying to let her have a connection to him, she was hoping he was watching from somewhere in StarClan, preferably with pride. But as I mentioned before, Pumpkin Swipe doesn't have the best relationship with apprentices, and it's really shown when it comes to Emberpaw. While out training with her and just a few other apprentices, she wanted to prove her bravery and ended up striking towards something, and Pumpkin Swipe didn't think it was funny and ended up throwing her across the training field, stating that she deserved the blood on her fur for being so stupid. It seemed a bit harsh to me. She's an apprentice. What did you really expect? But moving on to Sky. She luckily recovered and is perfectly fine now. It was said that her and Ziggy had been spending time together near streams and often going out hunting. It never said it in like a romantic way. It kind of seemed like they were implying they were like best friends. If it does turn into a romantic way, I think I'd be okay with that. And of course, by I think I'll be okay with that, I mean I'd 100% be a-okay with that. Speaking of Sky's friends, we're moving on to Frostburr. I said her and Ziggy grew close, but that's nothing compared to Frostburr. He's still our only elder, and it's often said that Sky is seen in the Elder's Den, so I'm assuming she's just helping out, maybe listening to old stories of his, which sadly not a lot of cats do. She's one of the few cats that ever has the status hanging out with him or in the Elder's Den. He's currently 137 moons old. There's really not much to say about him. And that concludes Riseclan Year 2. I'm going to be completely honest. With how my notes looked, I contemplated combining years 2 and 3. As somebody who's played through year 3 now, this is filmed much later, very glad I didn't do that. So this is not all of year 2. I went back and started playing after recording this, and turns out I ended on year 22 instead of 24. Don't worry, all of the important stuff that happens those 2 moons will be stated in year 3. I hope you all enjoyed, and thank you so much for watching.